Right. Today we look at American independence. It means today we are going to study American Revolution. In the last class, we have seen glorious revolution which occurred at England. Right. Now, how Americans struggled to get independence. That what we call American independence. It is from 1774 to 1789 Common Era. That is the period for American struggle. In 1492, the Columbus, who discovered the American continent. After this discovery, England and other European countries, they went to the America and established their colonies, especially in the eastern coast of North America by the middle of the 18th century. That means it is a half of the 18th century. And then second part of the 18th century, near about 13 states of America, especially North America, colonized by the British. And most of these 13 colonies occupied by people of England. In England, at that time, there was a Roman Catholic Church that we discussed in the previous class. So, to get freedom from the Roman Catholic Church, people from England, they rushed towards America, and there they settled. England people settled in America at the eastern coast and started cultivating lands and running the small workshops, and also conducted trade with other countries. So here we see that the English Parliament enforced its powers on the colonies also. It is 13 states of America were the colonies of the British. The British government enforced its laws on American states. But the right to vote was not given to these people who settled in America. So there was no representation in the British Parliament from these 13 colonies. So from 1750s, the American colonies, these were inhabited by some small and middle-sized farmers. The small farmers and middle farmers who had land and tilled it too in America from 1750s. And there large number of artisans and traders also settled there. Inhabited in the sense they settled from 1750s till 1750s. American colonies were inhabited by the small and middle sized farmers who had some land. Okay, some artisans, traders also settled there. So these colonies, they did not have any powerful landlords and princes as in the Europe. In the Europe, there were powerful landlords and also princes who controlled people in their region. Whereas in American colonies, there were no powerful landlords and princes like Europe. So there was a degree of equality among the people in America. People were treated equally there, as there were no landlords and princes there. And most of the people were Christians, and they belonged to the different sections, and each section in 13 colonies of America had their own church. Whereas in Europe continent, all the countries followed only one church, that is Roman Catholic Church. So Roman Catholic Church domination was there on entire Europe continent. So to get freedom from the Roman Catholic Church, European people, especially from England, English people migrated to the 13 colonies of America. They settled in 13 states of America, understand? So there, after settling, these English people at America, where 13 states are there, there they followed their own Christianity with their own church. Okay, the people from England who migrated into the American 13 states, there they settled, and they belong to different sections. So each section had their own church. It means that they did not have priest. Understand? The priest in Europe who was given complete authority on the people. Whereas in these 13 states of America, priest did not have the authority, understand, on people, and there is no social position to the priest. Priest also considered as an ordinary person in 13 states of America. Whereas in England, the priest was somewhat superior to the people, and he had a great good position in the society. So there was a respectable position in the society to the what to call a priest, understand? So some kind of authority and some social position was there to the priest in Europe, and such status was not there to the priest in American 13 states. Okay, many important Americans inspired by social equality in America, understand? The people who were settled in America, they were inspired by the social equality, understand? Many of them, that is look at, these are the some important person: Tom Paine, Thomas Jefferson. Look at the picture of Thomas Jefferson. Okay, these were the important persons who advocated political equality and freedom of thought for all people. In those days, there was no freedom to all the people. Instead, so people did not enjoy the freedom of thought in those days. Whereas in 13 states of America, there the Thomas Jefferson actively participated and led a campaign for political equality. That means all the people should be given equality in politics, and there should be freedom for all the people to discuss, to thought, to think, understand, to thought in the sense to think which is correct, which is right, understand, such a what to call right, that is a freedom advocated by the what you call this person Thomas Jefferson, understand? So that is a what to call important ideals advocated there, understand? And in England, the parliament, English parliament, that is Britain parliament, it passed laws in favor of the English traders. English traders purchased the goods and farm products from American people, those who settled. American people in the sense English people only, but who settled in 13 states of America at the eastern coast. Understand? So British Parliament every time passed laws, that is enforced, enacted the laws supporting to the English traders and English factory owners, and there it did not support American people of the colonies. So what do we see here? There is inequality, right? All the people are not treated equally, right? Politically they are not treated equally, right? English people, English traders were given some due respect and due importance by the laws, and those laws did not benefit to the American people of 13 colonies. So the American people, that is the people in 13 colonies of America, they started a campaign with a slogan that is no taxation without representation. No taxation without representation. Instead, it means that American people did not have any representation belonging to them in British Parliament, right? But British Parliament enforced the laws on 13 colonies in America, right? And these people, American people, they were paying tax to British government, to which they did not have a representative. Understand? They were paying taxes to the British Parliament. Understand? And this British Parliament was not responsible to the needs and interest of the American people. So, under the leadership of the Thomas Jefferson, Tom Paine, uh, there the American people decided, why should we pay tax to the British Parliament, which is not considering the needs of the American people? They raised a question that why should we pay tax to the British Parliament in which there was no representative from 13 colonies in Britain Parliament? This was the question from the 13 colonies. So they raised the slogan, no taxation without representation. In 1774 Common Era, 12 colonies of America, representatives, in the sense leaders of 12 colonies, they gathered at Philadelphia. At where? Philadelphia. Understand? This is a place. Okay, there they conducted a meeting that is called Congress. A group of meeting by the leaders is called Congress. Don't think your Congress in the sense is a political party. Clear? Congress in the sense it is a formal meeting, but it is a formal meeting for discussion between members of a group or delegates of a group. That is called Congress. Understand what is mean by Congress here? It is a meeting of delegates belonging to the 12 colonies of America. That is the meaning of Congress here. Don't think that it is a political party here. It's not a political party. simply you keep in mind it's a meeting. Okay, so Congress is the what, a meeting, understand, and a formal meeting, it's not a informal, a formal meeting, uh, for delegates, that is what to call a discussion between what to call group of members, that was conducted in 1774 common era at Philadelphia, understand. And there, in that meeting or congress, in that congress, they decided to protest against the what, British, understand. They wanted to go against the laws of the British government, understand. So there, what to call, at that time, the king, george george III was the king. So they requested the king George III to restore the previous rights which were there to these people, understand. So they requested the what, King George III, who was the British king, requesting to the king that to restore the previous rights. But whereas the king refused the request of the 13 colonies, and tried to suppress these 13 colonies leaders, understand. So the 13 colonies of America, that is American people of 13 colonies, they did not digest this incident, as the king started suppressing these people, and that led to a fight, that what we call armed clashes by the British soldiers and American soldiers. American soldiers in the sense what, from American people, some people turned to soldiers. Okay, so in this way, there a struggle started between the British soldiers and American soldiers. Understand? The king, who have to consider the request of the American people, he started suppressing the people of 13 colonies. How it is a correct one? It is injustice. Understand? So they did not wage war on the king. These American people did not wage war on the king, right? They requested, they sent a petition to the king. You know, they requested the king that to give certain rights to the what, people, understand. But whereas the king, with his absolute power, in which he believed that a divine right theory, he started suppressing the people. So the people of the 13 colonies turned to what to call turned against the king, that led to an armed clash between the American soldiers and British soldiers. Understand? Then after second conference, that is called second congress, second meeting, also held at Philadelphia. Understand? There they try to pass a resolution peacefully. Understand? They wanted to find a solution for their problems. The two peaceful solution they wanted. Instead of creating violence and waging war, they want to attain their rights. They want to gain their rights and fulfill their needs in a peaceful way. So they try to find a peaceful solution in the second congress held at Philadelphia. Understand? So they appealed to the king by second congress that not to impose the taxes on the 13 colonies of American people without their permission. So king did not consult these 13 colonies, right? The British Parliament, without consulting to the 13 colonies of America, started imposing the taxes, right? So the 13 American people of 13 colonies, they requested to the king that not to impose taxes without their permission. Understand? So there they decided that George Washington to be the leader and chief of armed forces of the 13 colonies. So, in the second Congress held at Philadelphia, the American people, the representatives of the 12 colonies, they met in Philadelphia. Philadelphia is a city, a region, a town in America. There we see that they appeal that George Washington to be the chief of armed forces of the colonies. Understand? It means that George Washington became the chief of the armed forces of the 13 colonies. Understand? George Washington turned to the chief of armed forces of the 13 colonies. Understand? So here the king saw that it is an act of rebelling. King considered that American people, American soldiers under the leadership of George Washington rebelling, that means fighting and declaring war on the George III, who was the king of England. Understand? This what to call considered by the king. King consider it is a revolt, and king declared a war. King declared a war on American soldiers, that is on April 1775 Common Era. See here the people in a peaceful manner they were trying to find a solution from the king. But whereas the king consider it is an act of revolt. See, that means always the king wanted that people should listen to him. Understand? Whereas the people want their development, their needs to be fulfilled. Understand? So there is freedom to everyone equally. Understand? But what we see here in those days, in autocratic rule, in the dictatorial rule established by kings, people did not enjoy their rights. Understand? Today we have democratic system of government in which we are enjoying our rights. Understand? So democratic system of government is the best form of government. Understand? So here the war declared by king in April 1775 Common Era. In this war, Americans succeeded. Americans finally won the war at October 1781 Common Era. War started by 1775, and in this war continued by 1781. The people of America succeeded. Understand? With the military help of France. France and England, they had some enmities. Understand? So France supported to the what? This American people. Keep this point in mind, my dear students, because we will discuss about the French Revolution. There we will remember this. We will recall this point again. There, okay. See, the France treasury also completed. So as the Louis in the France, Louis was the king. So the Louis helped the American people by sending the military of the France. Understand? So that point you keep in mind. Okay, with the support of France army, American forces succeeded in defeating the what kings, and they got independence by October 1781. So France helped the what the colonies, because look at this point. There was a rivalry. What was there? Rivalry means enmity between Britain and France regarding colonial empire. Right? When the new places were discovered, then European countries rushed to establish the colonies in the new discovered places. So one side Britain and another side France, they were in the competition in expanding their empire. So in that competition, Britain treated France as a enemy. France also treated Britain as enemy. So to defeat the Britain, France supported to the what? America. Understand? Enemy of enemy becomes what? Friend to other. Right? The American people were struggling to get independence from the Britain. So Britain and America have some enmity regarding the equality. Understand? American people suffered. France also have enmity with Britain in establishing the colonial empire. So the enemy of Britain, that is Americans, turned friends to the what? France, right? So France helped the what? America. If America gets success there, France gets what? Happy, because it is a defeat of Britain. Understand? So that is called a diplomatic nature. Understand? We call it is a diplomacy. That means in politics we do not find a permanent friends and permanent enemies. Depending on the situation, their mutual interest, they becomes enemies and also becomes what? Friends. Understand? So రాజకీయంలో శాశ్వత శత్రువులు శాశ్వత మిత్రులు ఉండరు. Understand? So it is the enmity between Britain and France in establishing the colonial empire. So Britain was defeated. America got independence by what you call 1781. War ended by 1783. My dear students, see that war started by 1775. War ended by 1781, common era. By 1783, there an agreement took place between Britain and 13 colonies of America, that is called Treaty of Paris. Treaty means an agreement. Okay, that agreement took place at Paris, the capital city of France. So that agreement is called Treaty of Paris. So with the Treaty of Paris, Britain recognized the independence to America, especially the 13 colonies which were colonized by Britain were declared independence and also recognized by Britain by 1783. In that way, America got independence by 1783. Understand? This is the struggle how they faced to getting independence from the British. Understand? So, dear students, we see that a number of countries, they started a struggle against the what? Colonial rule. Understand? Most of the countries of Asia, Africa, and Latin American countries were ruled by the Britain and France, Spain, like that. Spain, Portugal. These means European countries had established colonies in what to call every part of the world. Instead, in that Britain had established a vast empire. Instead, so finally America also got independence from the British. Instead, then after Americans have to declare their independence, right? So here the Declaration of Independence was adopted by American people on 4th July 1776. Understand? Dear students, the point what I'm saying here, when war started by 1775, when war was going in 1776, after starting the war by 1775, okay, in 1776, their American people under the leadership of Thomas Jefferson, they gathered at Philadelphia, that is called Third Congress, that is third meeting, okay, which held on 4th July 1776 common era. There the American people have drafted the Declaration of Independence. under the leadership of Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson was the principal author of declaring the independence, that is, drafting the independence to the India. Understand? So, what is written in that the document which is drafted on 1776, 4th July Common Era? It says that Thomas Jefferson said a principle in that draft, that is declaring the independence of America. In that is declared that all men created equal and are endowed by the creator with certain rights which cannot be taken away, including life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. This is the main principle they added to the Declaration of Independence by Thomas Jefferson. Thomas Jefferson stated that God created everyone equally. Understand? So that everyone is endowed by the Creator. That means God created everyone equally, so that all men who are created by God will enjoy certain rights equally. Right? What are those rights here? He said that those rights are given by God. So there is no right to anyone to take the rights of others. Understand? It is what to call life. Okay. That means I do not have the right to take the life of you people. Understand? Similarly, you also do not have to take the life of others. Right? Because we all are created by the God. So God has given certain rights to us. That is what the person who is born, he has to lead his life. Okay. So everybody have the rights like life, liberty, that is freedom, freedom, for what kind of freedom it is? Freedom to enjoy, freedom to get happiness, right? See, this point is very important. Freedom to happiness in the sense basic needs. Every man has to get all his needs, then only he will be happy. Understand? So there is right to what all the people equally. Understand? That is stated by the what Thomas Jefferson in Declaration of Independence of America. Understand? Which one? Declaration of Independence of America. In 1789, in 1789, after Britain, what you call identifying, that is recognizing the what you call freedom and independence of the America, that is in 1789 Common Era, the government of United States of America, that means America, America in the sense not American continent, American country. America is a country in American continent. Understand? Which is called USA. What do we call? USA. United States of America is a country in American continent. And this America adopted a Republican constitution. That means there will be elected head to the nation, and that elected head has to rule the America according to the constitution. In that way, United States of America would not be ruled by the kings. Understand? That means USA is going to be ruled by the head who is elected by the what to call people. Understand? So America turned to Republican constitution. Understand? By 1789 Common Era. Understand? That is the what American independence. Understand? Look at here. What is republic? Republic in the sense where the head of the state is elected democratically. Understand? Democratically president. In India, president is elected democratically. In America also, president is elected. Understand? Then what is Congress? A formal meeting for meeting or a series of meetings for discussion between delegates. That is called meeting, a conference. We can say that it is a conference. Okay, Congress is not a party. here. Understand? This is what to call the class. What I want to say. Remaining part will